When you work in tech industry, you are probably taught to be data-driven. If you are a designer like me, you should create data-driven designs. Programmers should be into data-driven development and data-driven testing. There is data-driven marketing as well. And more companies claim that they are data-driven organizations. Everything has to be data-driven nowadays. But have you ever thought that sometimes we might be wrong about data? That maybe we make some mistakes while using it? I think that the most common mistake that people make with data is that they trust data too much. Just think about it. Don't we consider data evidence? Yes, we do. We often take it as it is and don't even bother to understand what's beneath the data. And we don't look at it critically. Let me give you an example. These are my blood glucose test results taken when I was pregnant. Every pregnant woman has to do such test to check for gestational diabetes. To do it, you have to go to the lab early in the morning without eating anything, which is a torture for a pregnant woman. And you have to drink in the lab extremely sweet beverage, which is a glucose solution. You have to wait an hour, still eating nothing. And after that hour, you have your blood tested to see how high your blood glucose is. As you can see, mine was way too high. And you don't have to be a doctor to understand this, because with your results, you always get the reference value. That can be considered a metric. This is something you can compare your results to. When I picked up my results, the lab technician looked at it and said, gestational diabetes, obviously. You have to see your doctor. So I did. The important thing in that story is that I had a new doctor back then, and he didn't know much about me and my pregnancy history. When I met him, I told him everything about this test, my results, and I said that I probably had gestational diabetes. My doctor looked at the results, put it away, and said, let's talk first. And he started interviewing me. With his very detailed interview, he discovered and actually reminded me that a few weeks before the test, I had this kidney infection, and I had to take some medicine for that. As most medicine, this one also had side effects, which was, in this case, false positive blood glucose test results. My doctor explained to me that I probably didn't have gestational diabetes and recommended me to repeat the test. I did it a few weeks later, and the results of the second test were just fine. I didn't have gestational diabetes. What do you think? What did my doctor do there? Obviously, he didn't trust data. He did research. He knew that just by looking at data, the only thing that he can discover is that my results were very high. But with interview, with research, he discovered why they were so high. And my point is that data is not enough. I know it may sound a bit controversial right now when everyone wants to be data-driven. And I'm not going to tell you to stop using data because it's very important in our work. However, you have to remember that data doesn't tell you the whole story. It can tell you that something happens. The research gives you answers to the questions why that happens and provides you with insights for making better decisions. When working with data, don't be a lab technician. Be like my doctor. One might ask how to be a doctor if you are a designer or you work in product development. That is pretty simple. You just have to use the same tool that my doctor used. Questions. Start asking questions. According to Erica Hall, the author of Just Enough Research, this is the most important tool of designers. And I truly agree with that. I want to encourage you to use it whenever you can. It's cheap, easy to use, and accessible to everyone. Take advantage of the power of asking questions. That's what I try to do while working with development teams. I work closely with Allegro development teams responsible for the checkout process. Together we work hard for our customers to make buying on Allegro easy, as effortless as possible, and convenient. For those of you who are not so familiar with what Allegro is, this is the biggest e-commerce company in Poland, and it's a marketplace with millions of users. For this reason, every time someone from the team looks into data and finds something worrying there, the whole team just gets into panic mode. Like that time, when they discovered a significant difference between our desktop and mobile web conversion funnels. When my team looked at those funnels, they came to me quite upset and said, "We have a huge problem in our checkout process on mobile website. Do you know that?" What do you think? Where did they indicate the problem? Which step, according to them, was a pain point for our customers? That was mobile web cart. As you can see, we had bigger cart abandonment on the mobile website. The group of people who added something to their cart but didn't proceed to checkout was bigger on mobile website. Our first inference was that we had some problems with mobile web cart, and we wanted to find out some solutions for that. But to do this, we needed to know more about the user's activity after adding something to the cart. Therefore, we started asking questions. Like, how is the data in the funnel actually calculated? How does it relate to our customer's experience? Do we actually know what our users do after adding items to the cart, and for what reasons they are doing that? To answer these questions, we reached to our data analyst. In every situation, when you work with data, the collaboration with data analyst is crucial. In our case, the data analyst helped us to explore what the data from the funnel actually represent, sorry, and to understand how it was collected. However, there were still some questions that our data analyst couldn't answer. To answer them, we compared the funnel with a customer journey map. A customer journey map is a great research tool to explore places that frustrates users. Just like a funnel, it shows every stage of the process, but it also explores users' activity, their needs, motivations, and emotions at each step. The customer journey map immediately showed us something that the funnel was missing. The missing part was login page. Our data analyst explained to us that the login page was not included in the funnel because sometimes people are logged in before they add something to the cart, and sometimes they log in just before proceeding to checkout. In this situation, data here would be inaccurate. That's why it was not shown in the funnel. However, if you want to explore your user's experience, you have to look at every step they take. That means that the data from the funnel was not enough. Let's look more closely at the two steps that we are interested in right now, which is add to cart and login page. With qualitative and quantitative research that we did for creating customer journey map, we found out that our customers are adding to the cart for different reasons. Some people are adding to the cart to buy something immediately, but others treat the cart as a wish list. and they add to the cart for later consideration. There is also a group of people who add something to the cart with intent of purchase via different channel. And this is a specific issue for mobile web. Some people have security concerns about purchasing on mobile devices, so they proceed to checkout on their computer. That results in 2 visits for 1 purchase, and the funnel is calculated for 1 visit. That means that this specific behavior, like switching channels, is treated in the funnel as cart abandonment, as leaving the process. And this is one of the reasons of lower mobile conversion rates. Now let's look more closely at the login page. The question is what people are doing there. Some of them don't even log in because they can go through guest checkout. Again, this wasn't calculated in the funnel. And when our data analyst dug deeper into data, it turned out that guest checkout was more popular on the mobile website. So that was another reason for lower conversion rates there. But what are people doing where they actually log in? They are saving passwords for later. 40% of our users declare that they saved password in the browser. And what happens next? They forget the password because they don't have to remember it until they change device. For example, they visit the page from the mobile phone, and they cannot log in there. Of course, we have an option for resetting passwords, but people are lazy on their mobile phones. So if they don't remember the password, many of them just abandon the process. And those who try to do that, to reset their password, often give up because it's quite difficult, especially on their on mobile devices. And all those problems with passwords, with forgetting passwords on mobile website, were also reasons of lower conversion rates from mobile devices. We couldn't discover all those things just looking at the funnel and the data. The funnel told us only that we had some problems with mobile conversion rates. The research gave us a wider perspective of our customers' experience. And instead of thinking what changes should we implement into the cart page, we started to explore how to support our customers' behaviors like switching channels and how to help them in difficult situations like forgetting their passwords. I want to emphasize this. You cannot interpret data correctly without understanding the story behind the data. And only true understanding of people's behaviors when they interact with your product will lead you to create a better experience for them. But as I said before, data doesn't tell you the whole story. You should always combine it with research to discover all aspects of your customer's experience. Of course, we didn't stop using conversion funnels, and probably we will never stop. We often look at them to analyze A/B test results when we run different versions of the page for similar group of visitors at the same time, and then we observe which one performs better. Once after launching a multi-page A/B test with new layout, we discovered significant difference in our conversion funnels. Again. And again, my team got into panic mode. Let's find out why. As you can see, in the new version, this is version B, the orange one, this version performed better on the offer page. More people were clicking on the Buy Now button on the offer page and go to the next step, which was purchase confirmation. And that's supposed to be a good thing. We believed that it meant that more people were making purchase decisions. However, the next step revealed the problem. Fewer people actually continued and proceeded to the checkout. The difference was really significant, and it looked more or less like that. Our first conclusion was that we did a good job on the offer page, but we failed at redesigning the checkout. We wanted to know what went wrong, so again we moved into the most powerful designers tool questions, and we decided to ask people in the survey why they were leaving the purchase confirmation page. The most common answer was, I was just checking delivery cost. That was surprising, because delivery cost was presented on the offer page as well. But in the new version, it was less visible than in the old one. So that wasn't an action of purchase decisions. People needed more information, which they couldn't find on the offer page. Therefore, they were going to the confirmation page where delivery costs were presented in a better way. And those who were not satisfied with the costs were leaving the process. Again, research helps us to avoid misinterpretation of data. If we only look at the funnel and the data, we could draw incorrect conclusion and leave the offer page as it was, because it looks like it performed better. With some research, we discovered that the actual problem was not in the checkout, which people were leaving, but in the offer page, which didn't give them enough information. The research helped us to explore what people were doing when they interacted with our page. The lesson to draw from this example is as follows. You should always remember that data doesn't show you people's behaviors. It only shows you the results of those behaviors. You should always do your research regardless of what data shows you. Don't stop exploring even if it looks like you did a good job. Data that shows you something good is actually a huge risk for designers and basically everyone involved in the product development. Because all of us use data to measure the effectiveness of our work. That's why we are even more likely to trust data that shows that we succeed. And we tend to interpret data in the way that can prove that we did a good job. According to Andy Budd, this is something that separates bad designers from good designers. Be a good one and always try to find the data that proves that you are wrong. Sometimes other people try to do that for you and use data to prove that you failed. That happened to me once when one of the product managers looked into results of our Net Promoter Score survey that we ran at Allegro. As you probably know, the NPS is used for as a metric for customer satisfaction. You ask your customers to rate in scale from 0 to 10 how likely they would be to recommend your service, your brand, or your product to their family and friends. After collecting numbers, you subtract the percentage of so-called detractors from percentage of promoters, and that's how you get your score. In my opinion, this score also can be considered data. That's why we are going to talk about it now. As I said, the product manager looked at those NPS results and found something unusual there. He discovered that this score was much lower among our customers who used one particular payment method. With this data, he came to me and asked, what is wrong with that payment method? Why our customers who are using it are less satisfied? He was strongly convinced that we failed at designing this specific payment process. And he was sure that data is an evidence of bad user experience. He wanted me to come up with some ideas of changes and improvements in this payment process. And to be honest, we were both surprised, because that payment method was very popular among users. And it was also innovative and easy to use. But still, the users of that payment method rated their satisfaction lower. So I reached to the researcher that I worked with, and I asked him to help me. I wanted him to do research to find out how we can increase the NPS here. I wanted to know if we missed something. Maybe that payment method created some problems that we hadn't recognized so far. But that time, my researcher said that he wanted to look closely at more data. Actually, we had more data, because NPS is not the only customer satisfaction survey that we run at Allegro. We also run customer satisfaction survey known as CSAT, and we apply that to 4 main areas, like search, comparing offers, offer selection, and checkout and payment. My researcher looked at these survey results very carefully, and he found out something unusual there. People using the payment method we are talking about now rated search, comparing offers, and offer selection below the average. But checkout and payment was rated by them above the average. Clearly, the payment method wasn't the problem here. We needed to know more about the reasons for lower satisfaction, though. My researcher suggested a hypothesis that the users of that payment method are a specific group of our customers who generally rate their satisfaction lower, and that the payment method wasn't related to it. He continued his data investigation and looked more closely at this specific group of our customers. He found out that on the average, they were younger than all users of Allegro. There were more people under 30 in the group of customers who were using this payment method. And when he compared them to the group of our customers under 30, it turned out that they rate their satisfaction similarly. Younger people, in general, have lower NPS than the older ones. And because users of that discussed payment method were mostly young, that was the reason of their lower NPS, not the payment method itself. My researcher gave me a valuable lesson with this investigation. I learned that you have to be very careful with data, because it is very easy to confuse correlation with causation. Sometimes it seems that two things are related, but it doesn't necessarily mean that one causes the other. Perhaps it's just a coincidence, or there is something else that is a real cause. In this situation with NPS, we found correlation between used payment method and lower customer satisfaction. But the payment method wasn't the real cause of lower NPS score. That was spurious correlation. The real cause was that this specific group of users consisted of younger people who have higher expectations than other users, and because of that, the NPS among them was lower. And the insight from this exploration was not that we should improve something in the payment process, that we needed to focus more on younger customers because probably they had different needs that we hadn't satisfied. That is why it is so important to compare all data and never draw conclusions from just one set of data. Never analyze data in isolation. That will help you to avoid spurious correlation and misinterpretation of data. And listen to Jared's pool, and never stop at the first inference. Dig deeper, be curious, and explore data, and of course, combine it with more and more research. All of that will help you to discover new insights and make better decisions. I could give you more examples of problematic situations that I had with data. Because at Allegro, we work with data all the time. Data is in the very DNA of our company. No decisions, including design decisions, are made without looking into data. As most tech companies, we collect a lot of data in order to get vast knowledge about what our customers do when they interact with our service. We believe that being data-driven can help us to make better decisions and to create better products for our customers. And this is true in most cases. However, sometimes I feel that the more data we gather, the more confused we are. As you could see from the examples that I gave you, data can be really tricky, and it takes a lot of effort to understand what's beneath it. And if you want to include big sets of data into your work, it is very possible that you will not have enough time to explore it properly, and you will just get lost in the numbers. Collecting more and more data can actually distract you from better understanding of your customer's experience. For this reason, when you work with data, it is crucial to set good metrics. To transform data into good metrics. With good metrics, you can measure the usage of your product by your customers, and that will help you to find potential for change and improvements. To set a good metrics, you have to follow these 3 rules. First of all, keep your data and metrics simple, clear, and understandable for everyone. Avoid complex metrics that people can't even remember or are confused about. Be sure that you and everyone interpret it in the same way and that you understand what your metric represents. Your metrics should be also comparable. It's good to use ratio or rates because they are inherently comparative. But also your metrics should be able to compare across the periods of times, groups of users, in some cases competitors. That will help you to track your progress. The third and the most important rule is that your metric has to be actionable. A good metrics change the way you behave. Good metrics help you to decide how to act on and how to behave differently to achieve your goals. What you should definitely avoid is to use so-called vanity metrics. If you use data just to make you feel better, that means that you use vanity metrics. Those can be, for example, numbers of downloads, total numbers of registered users, average time spent on their page, and even net promoter score if you don't explore it properly. The vanity metrics doesn't tell you anything how your product works for your customers. Being data-driven looks like it's necessary. But numbers are tricky, and many designers have tough relationship with numbers. If you ask me, it took me a couple of years to understand how to handle data. It was a journey with ups and downs, and I've made a lot of mistakes during that journey. Today I wanted to share with you some lessons that I had learned during that journey, and hopefully to help you to avoid the mistakes that I had made. Let's sum up what has been told. I really want you to remember that data is not enough. Don't trust abstract data and never make decisions considering data alone. Use it wisely for change and actions, not for vanity. While interpreting your data, don't stop at the first inference, but transform it into hypothesis and verify it. Ask questions, find answers, and discover some insights for making smart decisions. And the last but not least, how about not being just data-driven, but instead start being insight-driven? I truly believe that all of us can benefit from that approach. Thank you.